The unexpected catalyst. The laboratory hummed with an electric silence, broken only by the rhythmic tap of Dr. Elena Rodriguez's fingers against her holographic display. Outside the reinforced windows of the planetary xenobiology research station, the Brazilian rainforest stretched endlessly, a verdant canvas of life and mystery. Elena had spent years studying the intricate possibilities of extraterrestrial life, her work often dismissed as the wild speculation of an overly imaginative scientist. Today, everything would change. The first anomaly appeared at 3:47 hours. A subtle distortion in the atmospheric readings, barely perceptible to anyone but the most meticulous observer. Elena's neural-linked computer began to ping with increasing urgency, its quantum processors detecting something beyond human comprehension. "Victor," she called to her research assistant, her voice steady despite the growing tension, "run a full spectrum analysis on the atmospheric anomalies." Victor Morales approached, his dark eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and professional concentration. The holographic displays flickered, showing increasingly complex data patterns that seemed to defy known physical laws. "This isn't possible," Victor muttered, his fingers dancing across the interface. "These energy signatures, they're coherent but completely outside our current understanding of quantum mechanics." The research station stood as a testament to human scientific ambition, nestled deep in the Amazon rainforest. Strategically positioned away from major population centers, it was a hub of cutting-edge research that pushed the boundaries of human knowledge. Suddenly, the air itself seemed to tear, not with violence, but with a precision that suggested intelligence. A shimmering membrane appeared, translucent yet distinctly geometric. It wasn't a portal in the traditional sense, but a convergence of dimensional interfaces that defied everything Elena understood about spatial dynamics. "Containment protocols," Elena commanded, her voice cutting through the growing tension. Victor's hands moved automatically, engaging a series of protective measures designed to isolate and study potentially dangerous phenomena. But this was no ordinary phenomenon. From the dimensional intersection emerged a transmission. Not sound, not light, but a pure information stream that bypassed traditional communication methods. It integrated directly with the station's computational systems, presenting itself not as an invasion, but as a deliberate communication. The message was clear, yet incomprehensible. Mathematical equations that seemed to describe complex interdimensional relationships, biological data that suggested life forms existing in states of matter humans had only theorized about, and a singular, haunting undertone. First contact was not a choice, but an inevitability. Elena's background in xenobiology had prepared her for countless hypothetical scenarios. She had written numerous papers challenging the anthropocentric view of potential extraterrestrial intelligence. Yet nothing could have prepared her for this moment of raw, unfiltered alien communication. "Victor," she said, her voice a mix of professional calm and barely contained excitement, "we're going to need to notify the international scientific community, but not through standard channels." The research station's advanced quantum encryption would ensure that their communication remained secure. The last thing they needed was global panic or military intervention before understanding the true nature of this contact. As the dimensional interface began to stabilize, Elena realized they were witnessing something more than a simple first contact scenario. This was a deliberate probe, a test of humanity's capacity for understanding. The alien transmission continued to flow, a complex tapestry of information that suggested not just intelligence, but a profound desire to communicate. Mathematical theorems intertwined with what appeared to be genetic blueprints, suggesting a civilization that viewed science, biology, and communication as a unified discipline. Victor's hands trembled slightly as he worked, processing the incoming data. "Dr. Rodriguez," he whispered, "I don't think they're just trying to communicate. I think they're evaluating us." Elena nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. Humanity stood on the precipice of its greatest moment. Not a violent first contact, but an intellectual challenge that would test the very limits of human perception and understanding. The dimensional interface pulsed, a silent reminder that everything was about to change. The first chapter of humanity's cosmic story was being written, and they were its unexpected authors. Little did they know, this moment would become the catalyst for a conflict that would reshape the understanding of humanity's place in the universe. Technological awakening. The global response was unlike anything in human history. Within hours of Elena Rodriguez's encrypted transmission, a coalescence of scientific minds began to form, a network that transcended national boundaries, political ideologies, and institutional hierarchies. At the United Nations Emergency Scientific Council, Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, the lead quantum physicist from Tokyo University, leaned forward, his holographic display showing the intricate data patterns intercepted from the Brazilian research station. "This is not just a communication," he explained to the assembled global representatives. "It's a complex probe, almost like an intellectual virus designed to test our cognitive capabilities." The communication had spread through secure channels, bypassing traditional media. Governments worldwide found themselves in an unprecedented situation, a first contact scenario that demanded cooperation rather than competition. In Silicon Valley, a team of researchers led by Dr. Marcus Thompson began analyzing the dimensional transmission. What had initially seemed like an incomprehensible data stream was slowly revealing itself as a sophisticated intelligence test. Each attempt to decode the message revealed new layers of complexity, challenging every fundamental understanding of physics, biology, and information theory. "It's adaptive," Marcus muttered, watching lines of code morph and reconstruct themselves. "The transmission changes based on our method of analysis. It's learning from us even as we try to understand it." Meanwhile, in the Brazilian rainforest, Elena and Victor continued their careful study. The dimensional interface remained stable, a silent sentinel of unknown origin. Military and scientific personnel had begun to converge on the research station, but Elena insisted on maintaining a purely scientific approach. "We cannot approach this as a potential threat," she argued during a global video conference. "This is an opportunity for understanding. Every defensive posture we take risks misinterpreting what could be a peaceful first contact." Her words resonated with a growing sentiment. The transmission had an almost educational quality, presenting challenges that seemed designed to provoke intellectual growth rather than conflict. Deep within military and scientific research facilities around the world, a remarkable phenomenon began to emerge. The alien transmission was triggering unprecedented technological breakthroughs. Research teams working on quantum computing suddenly found themselves making leaps that would have taken decades. Energy research revealed new principles of matter conversion that promised to solve global energy crises. Dr. Elena Rodriguez hypothesized that the transmission was more than a message. It was a test. A test of humanity's potential, its capacity for understanding, and its ability to transcend its own limitations. In orbit, international space stations became impromptu research centers. Satellites were repurposed to capture and analyze the smallest fragments of the dimensional transmission. The global scientific community, for the first time in human history, worked as a truly unified force. Victor Morales discovered something even more profound. The transmission contained what appeared to be genetic markers, not human, not any known terrestrial life form, but something that suggested a fundamental understanding of adaptive biological systems. "It's like a blueprint," he told Elena, his eyes wide with excitement. "Not just of life, but of potential, of what life could become." Governments began to realize that this was not a scenario for military preparation, but for collective human advancement. Emergency sessions of the UN saw unprecedented levels of cooperation. Nations that had been historical enemies now sat side by side, united by the magnitude of this encounter. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura summarized the global sentiment during a pivotal meeting. "We are being invited to something," he said, his voice calm and resolute. Not invaded, not threatened, invited to demonstrate our capacity for understanding. As days turned into weeks, humanity began to change. The transmission continued, a constant pulse of information that seemed to unlock hidden potentials. Scientific breakthroughs emerged at an unprecedented rate. Technologies that had been theoretical became practical. Energy solutions, medical innovations, computational paradigms, all were transforming. But beneath the scientific excitement, a fundamental question remained. Who or what was sending this transmission? And more importantly, what did they want? Elena Rodriguez looked out over the rainforest from her research station, knowing that humanity stood at the threshold of its greatest adventure. The dimensional interface continued to pulse, a silent promise of transformation, a challenge to everything humanity thought it knew about its place in the universe. The resistance begins. 3 months after the initial transmission, the world had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The quantum communication from the unknown entities had become more than just a scientific curiosity. It was reshaping human civilization at its core. In the underground research facility beneath the Andes Mountains, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display that pulsed with an alien rhythm. Beside her, a new team of international researchers worked tirelessly, their backgrounds as diverse as the challenge before them. The transmission had evolved, presenting increasingly complex challenges that seemed to test not just human intelligence, but human potential. "It's a selection process," Elena explained to General Renata Oliveira, a Brazilian military strategist who had become a key liaison between scientific research and global defense initiatives. "They're not just communicating, they're evaluating our species' capacity for adaptation." The global landscape had changed dramatically. Traditional power structures crumbled as nations realized that survival and progress depended on collective action. Underground research networks began to form, not out of secrecy, but out of a need for rapid, unrestricted scientific collaboration. In Tokyo, a group of young researchers led by Dr. Keiko Tanaka discovered something disturbing. The alien transmission contained subtle patterns that suggested a potential threat. Not an immediate invasion, but a long-term strategic assessment. Some of the decoded information implied a galactic civilization that evaluated emerging species, potentially culling those deemed unworthy. "We're being tested," Keiko told her team, her voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "And I don't think failure is an option." Resistance movements began to take shape, not violent rebellions, but intellectual insurgencies. Scientists, engineers, and thinkers from every corner of the globe started working on contingency plans. They understood that humanity's survival might depend on demonstrating not just intelligence, but an unprecedented capacity for innovation and adaptation. Victor Morales, now leading a specialized research unit, had uncovered something extraordinary. The transmission contained what appeared to be technological seeds, potential blueprints for advanced technologies that could be unlocked through specific cognitive challenges. It was as if the alien entities were offering humanity a chance to prove its worth. "They're not giving us technology," Victor explained during a global conference. "They're challenging us to develop it ourselves. Each breakthrough is a test, each innovation a potential key to something larger." Military strategists around the world began to reframe their approach. This was not a potential invasion to be defended against, but a cosmic challenge to be met with human ingenuity. Massive research initiatives were launched, pooling resources from every nation. In the Brazilian Rainforest Research Station, Elena discovered something that would change everything. The transmission contained subtle genetic markers, not just information, but a potential pathway to human enhancement. Not through direct modification, but through understanding the fundamental principles of adaptation and potential. "We're being invited to evolve," she told General Oliveira, "not just technologically, but as a species." Underground networks of researchers began to form global collaborative platforms. Encryption technologies developed from the alien transmission allowed for communication that was virtually unhackable. Universities, research centers, and independent, think tanks created a mesh network of innovation that transcended traditional boundaries. A young engineer in Nigeria, Adebyo Okonkwo, developed a revolutionary energy conversion system based on principles hidden within the transmission. In Singapore, Dr. Li Wei created a neural interface that could process information at speeds previously thought impossible. In Argentina, a team led by Dr. Marcos Rodriguez developed medical nanotechnology that could potentially reverse cellular aging. Each breakthrough was a small victory, a testament to human potential. But beneath the surface, a growing awareness emerged. The transmission was more than just a communication. It was a challenge, a test that would determine humanity's place in a potentially hostile universe. General Oliveira met with Alina in the secure research facility, her military background now transformed by the scientific revelations. "We're preparing," she said, looking at the pooling holographic displays. "Not just for a potential threat, but to prove our worth." The resistance was not about fighting an external enemy. It was about pushing the boundaries of human potential, about proving that humanity was more than just another species to be evaluated and potentially discarded. As the transmission continued to pulse, sending its complex, challenging signals, humanity began to unite. Not out of fear, but out of a collective determination to rise to the ultimate challenge. The cosmic test had begun, and humanity was preparing to show its true colors. Turning the tide. 6 months after the first transmission, humanity stood on the precipice of its greatest transformation. The mysterious alien communication had evolved into something more, a crucible that was forging humanity into something unprecedented. Deep within the International Quantum Research Facility in the Swiss Alps, Dr. Alina Rodriguez stood before a device that defied conventional understanding. Surrounding her were representatives from every continent, scientists, military strategists, and political leaders who had become unlikely allies in humanity's greatest challenge. "We're not just decoding a message," Alina explained, her voice steady and determined. "We're solving a cosmic puzzle that will determine our species' future." The device before them was a marvel of human innovation, a quantum interface developed through the collective efforts of research teams around the globe. It was built from insights gleaned from the alien transmission, a technological marvel that blended human creativity with the cryptic blueprint provided by the mysterious entities. Victor Morales, now a lead researcher, approached the central console. "Activation sequence initiated," he announced, his fingers moving with precise calculation across the holographic interface. The room held its breath. What had begun as a mysterious transmission had transformed into a global movement. Universities had been redesigned, entire educational systems restructured to focus on adaptive thinking and interdisciplinary problem-solving. Military strategies gave way to intellectual preparedness. Nations that had once been bitter enemies now worked side by side, united by a common purpose. General Renata Oliveira watched the proceedings, her military background now tempered by scientific understanding. "This is more than a technological breakthrough," she murmured to Dr. Keiko Tanaka, who stood nearby. "This is our species' response to a cosmic challenge." The quantum interface began to pulse, not with electricity, but with something more fundamental. Information flows that seemed to bend the very fabric of reality began to manifest. The researchers had discovered that the alien transmission was not just a message, but a test, a challenge to prove humanity's worth. Adebyo Okonkwo, the Nigerian engineer who had revolutionized energy systems, had developed a breakthrough Neuralink technology that allowed multiple researchers to interface with the quantum device simultaneously. "It's like the transmission is teaching us how to think differently," he explained. "Not just process information, but understand it on a fundamental level." Suddenly, the device erupted with a cascade of information. Star charts, complex mathematical equations, and biological blueprints that seemed to suggest entire ecosystems beyond human comprehension filled the holographic displays. "They're showing us something," Dr. Marcos Rodriguez from the Argentine research team said, his voice barely a whisper. Not just information, a pathway. The transmission suggested more than just technological potential. It hinted at a galactic ecosystem, a complex network of civilizations that evaluated emerging species. Humanity was being tested, not just for its technological capabilities, but for its fundamental nature. Dr. Li Wei from Singapore analyzed the incoming data. "It's like a cosmic entrance exam," she said, "and we're being challenged to prove our worth." The quantum interface began to stabilize, revealing something extraordinary. Hidden within the complex data were pathways to technologies that could revolutionize human existence. Advanced energy systems that could solve global climate challenges. Medical technologies that could extend human potential. Communication systems that could bridge vast cosmic distances. But there was an underlying message, a challenge. Humanity would need to prove itself not just through technology, but through unity, creativity, and an unprecedented capacity for adaptation. General Oliveira approached Elena. "Are we ready?" she asked. Elena looked at the pulsing quantum interface, at the team of researchers from around the world. Humanity had transformed. No longer divided by national boundaries or petty conflicts, they had become something more. "We're more than ready," she responded. The transmission continued, a silent challenge from something vast and incomprehensible. But humanity had discovered its greatest strength, the ability to unite, to innovate, to transform. The tide was turning, and the universe was about to witness something extraordinary. Ultimatum of survival. 1 year after the first transmission, humanity stood transformed. The mysterious cosmic challenge had become more than a test. It was a crucible that had reshaped civilization itself. In the orbital research station that now served as humanity's primary interface with the unknown, Dr. Elena Rodriguez prepared for the final stage of the cosmic examination. Around her, a diverse team of researchers from every corner of the globe worked with a unity that would have been impossible just months earlier. The quantum interface pulsed with an intensity that seemed to challenge the very fabric of reality. Surrounding the station, a fleet of international spacecraft, a testament to human cooperation, maintained a defensive perimeter. But this was not a military formation. It was a collaborative effort, a living demonstration of humanity's evolved potential. "Final convergence sequence initiated," Victor Morales announced, his voice calm despite the magnitude of the moment. The alien transmission had transformed from a cryptic message to a full-scale evaluation of human capability. Dr. Keiko Tanaka monitored the data streams, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "They're pushing us to our absolute limits," she observed, "but we're pushing back." The challenge had become clear. The mysterious entities were part of a vast galactic network that evaluated emerging civilizations. Humanity was not facing an invasion, but a comprehensive assessment of its worth, its potential to join a broader cosmic community. General Renata Oliveira stood beside Elena, her military background now a seamless blend of strategic thinking and scientific understanding. "We've come further in 1 year than we did in a century," she said, watching the complex data patterns unfold. The transformation had been total. Global conflicts had dissolved in the face of a greater challenge. Educational systems were redesigned to foster creativity, adaptive thinking, and collaborative problem-solving. Technologies developed from the alien transmission had solved critical global challenges: climate change, energy production, medical limitations. Adebio Okonkwo's revolutionary energy systems now powered entire continents. Dr. Marcos Rodriguez's medical nanotechnology had extended human potential, not through artificial enhancement, but through a deeper understanding of biological adaptation. Suddenly, the quantum interface erupted with a massive data surge. Star charts, complex mathematical models, and what appeared to be blueprints for interstellar navigation filled the holographic displays. "It's an ultimatum," Dr. Li Wei said, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Not a threat, a final test." The transmission suggested a choice. Humanity could prove its worth by solving a series of increasingly complex challenges, challenges that would test not just technological capability, but fundamental understanding of the universe itself. Alina stepped forward, activating the primary communication channel. "We accept," she said simply, her voice carrying the collective determination of an entire species. What followed was unlike anything in human history. The challenges pushed the boundaries of human comprehension, quantum puzzles that required global collaboration, technological problems that demanded creative, non-linear thinking, ethical dilemmas that tested the fundamental nature of human empathy and understanding. And humanity rose to meet each challenge. Research teams worked in perfect synchronization. Universities became global networks of problem-solving. What had once been national boundaries became collaborative zones of intellectual exploration. The final challenge came as a massive data burst that seemed to contain the fundamental secrets of cosmic navigation. It was more than a technological puzzle. It was an invitation to understand the universe in a way no species had before. "They're offering us a choice," Victor said, analyzing the final transmission. "Not just to join their galactic network, but to potentially become architects of our own cosmic future." In the orbital station, surrounded by the most advanced technology humanity had ever created, Alina Rodriguez understood the true nature of the challenge. It was never about proving superiority. It was about demonstrating potential, adaptability, the capacity to grow, to unite, to transcend. As the final data streams resolved, something extraordinary happened. The transmission transformed, no longer a test but an invitation, a recognition of humanity's potential. The universe had been watching, and humanity had passed with flying colors. "We're ready," Alina said, looking out at the vast expanse of space. Not as a statement of conquest, but as a declaration of possibility. The cosmic doors were opening, and humanity was about to step through.